Each week, as we play in this co-creation called Sweet Tea Channeling, we are being asked to suspend our current reality and imagine creating a world that fully supports our heart's desires, that allows us to be our authentic self 100% of the time, and to feel into the love and delight that surrounds us in that space. As we imagine this reality, receiving channeled guidance from Christopher on how to live in it more completely, we are bringing it into being in a way most of us have never even dared to dream possible. By simply participating in these brief gatherings, we are raising our frequency, creating ripples of love, and softening the edges of societal discord. Welcome to Sweet Tea Channeling. Today is July 4th, 2023. And as has been our practice for the last month, we are here to offer a safe and sacred space where we meet to bring this imagined reality into our everyday lives. We refer to this community we are creating as Hoomadhi, defined as a reality created by a community of open-minded, pure-hearted beings, celebrating divine oneness and brilliant uniqueness while living in harmony, joy, and ease with one another and our beloved planet. This is being done by us in the now, whether you are participating live or watching later. We recognize this might sound bizarre or even impossible, but we've been told it's not only possible, it's what we are here to do in this lifetime. In fact, we've all been preparing to do this for many lifetimes now, and it is no accident that we are here doing this together. It's time to awaken to our infinite potential and trust in what we are being guided to do. My name is Debbie Pokornik, and I'm here with my soul sister and friend, Susan Hoskins, and together we will be your hosts. What we ask of you is to enter this sacred space with an open mind and pure heart, to call in your support team of angels, guides, spiritual teachers, which you definitely have, and ask them to help you to funnel everything you hear through your heart.
We invite you, as you enter this sacred space, to take off the symbolic backpack we wear with us every day, all the time. In our backpack, we carry all the illusions of the so-called past, our hurts, disappointments, regrets, and we carry them around in our imaginary backpack and quite often spend our days opening up that backpack to dig into what was and no longer is. But in this sacred space, we focus solely on creating anew in this present moment. So see yourself taking off the backpack for now. You can always pick it up when we conclude our sweet tea channeling.
We are all brilliantly unique, yet amazingly connected. In fact, everything we do, say, think, or feel actually ripples out, influencing far more than most of us ever dream possible. So we invite you to feel into what arises for you. Share it if you're on the call with us. If not, write about it, contemplate it, discuss it with an open-hearted friend. Our goal is to truly live it, and to do that, we have to make it real first. We do all of this from a place of love, respect, and compassion for that which is shared by others. If this is your first time joining us, we strongly encourage you to listen to the other calls, especially the channelings, which always follow this welcome message. While Susan is sharing this guidance from beyond, we encourage you to let go of what you think you know and allow yourself to slip into the stream of consciousness, noticing anything that comes up for you while still allowing it to flow on through. Afterwards, we play with what has arisen, from the channeling, from our Hoomadhi experiences through the week, along with whatever has been inspired through conversation. These hour-long calls and the videos created as a result are like an alignment tool, helping us create, raise our frequency, and actually live in the reality we are bringing into 3D. So feel free to go back and play in any of them over and over again as a way to remember, awaken, and live what we are creating. Let's begin by opening sacred space, followed by the channeling.
As is our practice, let's just take a moment to call our energy back within our sacred container in our heart. And we do this often by breathing. So let's take a moment to focus on our beautiful heart chakra, much like a candle flame burning within our heart, as we breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in the first gift of life, and our breath, the very last thing we do before we journey home. We take a moment to open our heart and our mind and to receive the beautiful guidance that is ours as we call in our tribe of angels, guides, and master teachers. With great gratitude, we call in Christopher and see your guides all around you as I see mine, as we move forward in this sacred space together. We also call in the golden sheets of beautiful, beautiful protection around our light, our heart chakra, and this beautiful, beautiful creation we are playing in together, that which we call Hoomadhi. And so we begin.
Christopher, what would you like to share with us today?
As always, I and we, meaning your tribe of angels and guides, are so grateful and honored to be with you today. We are always here for you, as you know, during peaceful times and turbulent times. But just know that we are one. We're not separate. We are in your heart always, as you are within ours. What would you like to ask today, Debbie?
When Susan and I were choosing our backgrounds for today, the one that came forth has a storm that is passing. And it struck us both as a very interesting background to have chosen for today. Is there anything in that you would like to share with us?
Of course, and it was no accident you chose that background today. For so many of you are feeling the storm of changing energies. Listen to what we said. We said the storm of changing energies. It may feel turbulent. It may feel ominous, like the dark clouds that surround you just before the storm. But it truly is a changing energy. And if you recall in what we've said before about the cleansing waters to cleanse the earth and cleanse your very soul and spirit, that's what's happening and will continue to happen. So yes, many of you are feeling that anxiety around an approaching storm because you can't control a storm. So many of you spend your days trying to somehow control the current of life, control your fate, control your destiny, control the outcomes. But in the midst of a storm, there is nothing you can control, for you are not meant to. For it is in control of Mama Nature, Mama Gaia, all the universe. That's what controls the storm, not you. But you do feel your own storming energy swirling around you. So yes, of course, there's a storm coming in Colorado. There's a storm that's been raging in Georgia. But what we're really talking about is what the storm of changing energy represents. And we would like you to focus on stepping through what we've talked about before, a portal, an opening. An opening, if you can see yourself going into the universe right where you are, of this new energy you are creating called Hoomadhi. And you are creating it with us. You are creating it with love and joy and delight and purpose. But the storm energy that you are feeling is your call to step out of the raging storms, if you will, all around you that we've talked about before. The storms you can't control of people's energy, of their anger and division and feeling of separateness. You can't control that. All you can do is do what you do when a physical storm is heading your way. You seek shelter. And so we ask you today to step into this portal of brilliant Hoomadhi energy. Many call it 5D. We focus on what you are creating because it is your community. Open-minded souls, open, pure heart beings, creating a beautiful way of life, not just to think about, but actually to live and navigate this physical experience in the beautiful river we talk about, or the container, however you choose to see it, of the divine consciousness of love, oneness, and now. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. It does help. And I'm wondering if you can expand a little bit more on what, I know you've told us to walk through a portal and such, but I guess what I'm seeking is a little bit of a practical tip for those who feel like they're seeking shelter, but just aren't quite sure how to deal with these energies or understand them.
Well, the place we always want you to begin is how we began when you called in our energy today. You began by simply going into the beautiful shelter of yourself, that place within you where you can be still, just still and fully present in the moment. And you know when you get there, because suddenly it is much like we talked about setting the backpack down. You can pick it back up. You can pick up all the disturbing energies, if that's what you desire, at the end of this, or the end of going within. Just like you can choose to go out and stand in the middle of a storm, a raging storm. But we ask you simply to take the moment to go, okay, I seek to go within. I seek in this precious moment, just this moment, to be at peace. And the visual that we've given Susan often is to imagine going into your sacred heart space, because it is sacred, and imagine you becoming one with your holy self, that beautiful expression of you that always was and always will be, that's always one with the creator of all that is and all. And just first connect with that holy self, and then see, imagine, feel just the energy or the visual of your angels and guides being fully present. Once you feel that, as we have shared, then you can see a space where suddenly you go within your heart and it opens up even to a greater space that is the sacred heart of the creator of all that is. It is source. It is the one life. And just spend time, if you will, dwelling in that space for a moment, and imagine what it would feel like just to be totally safe, totally present, totally guided, and just being one with love. That's how we would like you to imagine seeking shelter from a storm.
Thank you.
People will be experiencing many, many storms in the days, weeks, months to come, because the old way isn't working anymore. The old systems will begin to crumble. This hatred and division that is so prevalent now will have to be risen above to live in a world where we choose not to be a part of it. It's just not our experience. Again, it's much like we've talked to you before. We don't come down to dwell in the gunk of 3D or the hatred and division with you. No, we ask you to join us in a beautiful consciousness right now, right where you are, of oneness and love and joy. And it doesn't mean you don't have challenges, as we've talked about before, but you just find a new way to move through them, to deal with them, to accept the gifts from them. And as you're coming to know, it's a beautiful thing. Susan had an experience the other day that we are reminding her of right now. And it was a situation where in the past, she might have been concerned or upset or victimized or whatever the feelings might be. And it surprised her to know that that was not part of her consciousness or reality at all. And it felt so good. And so Hoomadhi, this living thing that you're creating, is a way not of thinking, but simply and purely a way of being and learning how to be in harmony with one another as together you navigate this physical life experience. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is going to continue to take a lot of really practicing it, as in playing into it and living it. But that's exactly why we're here.
Absolutely. And I think our message that we began with you more than a year ago, that's coming into being now, is that again, this isn't just something you think about, read about, hear about, and say, isn't that nice? Rather, it's what you create. You make it come alive and present for yourself. And think about it this way: all the vitriol, the division, the acrimony, the hatred, the vile that you can witness in the world now in 3D was created. It was created by the erroneous beliefs of separation, the need for power, the struggle to control. All that created this illusion that people are dwelling in today as their reality. But we know that you have been called, and so many others are hearing the call that says, no, this is not the truth of my being. I do not wish to live in this. It is not something I can change because it's not part of my creation anymore, if you will. Therefore, I'm choosing simply to create anew a way of life that works for all. So remember, when you question if this is possible, just peek at, from a different perspective, what you see today. And remember, you can create your own reality of beauty, of love, of joy, of delight, of pure beingness, just as you and so many others participated in creating this other. this other scenario. It just isn't yours anymore. That's what we would like you to think about. And again, to focus that you have the ability, all of you coming together now in whatever way you're participating in this new consciousness with a pure heart and open mind and desire to be one, you have the power to create the reality that will be every bit as much real in your experience in every given moment, if you choose, as what has been created before that is no longer working. That's what we would like you to focus on.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Is there any further clarity I can provide?
I think that feels good for today.
Then I invite you to play with this, to talk about it, to heart bounce it, as you love to say, what it feels like. And again, the knowingness we want you to walk away with is that this is real. This is real. And you can choose to create it. So, with that, we're so joyful to be present with you. We're always with you. And for now, we will just let it be so. And so it is. Ah,
Oh, is right.
that that felt very powerful as
Mhm.
it was coming through.
Yes, it sounded very powerful. Oh, I lost my hair.
And I was struck by the analogies that was given about what we're viewing going on in the world today. All you have to do is tune in the news and you can be reminded of it, that is the creation of people's illusions of separateness. But it's created this bubble of existence that people are living in. And I felt the power today that Christopher was saying, you can create, you really can create something new. So that if there was a TV station that was broadcasting Hoomadhi, for example, we would be broadcasting the news of what joy and delight we've created in our lives. That's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about you. I think that it's similar for you as for me. But I do not pay attention to the news. So I hear about things that are really big because someone will mention it to me, or it'll get through. But for the most part, I do not follow the news. And I don't experience this world that so many people are talking about. I mean, it's like that's just not my reality. I can't tell you the last time I have met a truly abrasive or rude person, or uh, felt mistreated. Now, you could say, well, look, yeah, you're a white woman, so on and so forth. And I get that I'm not taking that for granted at all. But I am saying that in my world, I
Mhm.
tend to attract people who are vibrating at a similar frequency to me, and therefore they are friendly and loving and sweet and open-minded for the most part.
Oh, I so get what you're saying, because I too feel that I'm attracting those as well, and it feels so good. And as I've shared in some past experiences, like what I went through at the hospital with Larry, everybody was just so kind and wonderful. And yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Uh, and what I'm struck with, and I'm glad that Christopher brought it up, is that since we still live in this 3D gunk, however we want to describe it. I wish there were new words to even talk about it.
I don't know, gunk works pretty good. I don't like to call it 3D anymore now that I've learned that 3D isn't naturally like that. That's just what we've created in
Right.
3D, but I totally get the gunk part.
Okay, let's call it the gunk. Let's
Yeah.
call it the gunk.
Okay.
I'm just amazed that situations that might have triggered me before in the gunk.
Hmm.
To be like, whatever, victim, upset, angry. I mean, it's not there. I can't even conjure it up. It's like when it came into my awareness, it was simply like, oh, huh. Well, I'm feeling really good about that. That's really cool. It's just observing what might have triggered me before that isn't. And that feels so good. That feels like really living in this new, what we call our Humadi.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really interesting conversation for me. In this past week, I have, I start my day, I like to start it if I can with yoga
Mm-hmm.
and then with a meditation. And in that meditation, I have been seeing myself in sometimes it's a pond, usually it's a waterfall, sometimes it's a river, but in this energy that Christopher has been talking about, this clear water. And I have been doing that all week, and I have found that I come out of that meditation feeling almost like I'm levitating. It's
Mm,
just a really, really beautiful feeling. And so, what's really interesting to me now is that in these last 2 days, the energies have shifted,
mhm,
and I'm trying really hard not to give them a story because there
mhm,
are things that feel like they could, like just for example, I have lots of food intolerances, or at least a couple of food intolerances, and I'm testing them right now. I'm trying to see if maybe I can have a little bit of butter, for example. And when I do that, oftentimes I will get what's called fuzzy brain and stuff like that. And that is kind of what I'm experiencing, but not really. So it'd be easy for me to go, oh, that's because I went to that restaurant and I didn't specifically say, please don't use butter on the scallops,
mhm,
type
mhm,
thing. So it's really interesting to me that even though I feel like I've been living Humadi and practicing the things that we're learning, and as you know, working with the little nuggets from the channeling, I love to take those notes, those pieces out of the channeling that really speak to me, and then reread them every day. Um, I am still finding that energy is hitting me, which is what exactly what Christopher was saying. But I share all of this simply to say that it's an ongoing process. It is life,
mhm.
right? And so it's not like you do it and you go, yes, I'm there, and I'm not ever going back.
Right.
There's constantly little moments. And so I'm really feeling that right now. But I got to tell you, this whole last week has been lived more fully in Humadi than I ever have before.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I'm wondering, this just was popping in my head while you were talking. You were sharing that you don't watch the news, which is a really good thing. And I was sharing that, what's going on in the world. I don't sit there and watch the news either, but I
No,
do occasionally tune in to know. I rather like seeing the contrast once in a while. And
right.
then, oh, I can't stand it. Get out of there. But what I think maybe is going on, I don't know. We are going to be, even though we're living in Humadi and we're not attracting the people that are angry and mean, rude, we're attracting wonderful souls. I'm wondering if we are being challenged occasionally to not be drawn into gunk in any way, like your food intolerances. That's interesting. Even though that's very real, it's interesting how you're trying to reframe it, and to think of it differently. So I appreciate you saying that. I got to sit with that a while to think about
Yeah.
ways I get triggered in and how I can go, yeah, no. I mean, it's easy to turn off the news.
Hmm.
It's easy to walk away from a situation, but maybe we're being called into the energy more fully where we have to deal with the cause in more subtle ways. Huh.
Yes. Well, and there's something there with what you're saying. And certainly I have been feeling it as well this week because it has almost been like that. Like it's not done maliciously in any way, okay? But it is that sense of, well, how about this? Can you handle this? You know, and something happens and you sort of go, oh, okay, I I can handle that. I'm not going to react to that. I'm going to um just send love and just to put it into context, okay? I was talking to my mother, and there was something that we had planned that I thought we had planned to do it with a very low key, just a small amount of people. And she has now opened it up into a much bigger deal that is going to involve like a caterer and all of that. And that is totally fine. That's her prerogative. And I'm good with that. But there was a piece of me wanting to resist and to say, Mom, why make it that much work for all of us? Like, and so I was trying to go down that route of resistance when I suddenly had that sense of, is it up to you to change what she wants to do, or is it up to you to just support what she wants to do? And so that is what I have switched over to. But prior to living in Humadi, I probably would have stuck to that whole resistance, saying, "Come, why are you doing this to us? Why are
Mhm.
you making it so much harder than it needs to be?" And in truth, she's probably not. We probably will all have a wonderful time and it will be perfect and we will love it. But yeah, there's a part of me that would have resisted in the past. And so I feel like this past week, even though I've been in this more firmly in Humadi than usual, I feel like there's still these little challenges coming up, and it's almost like well, how about this? How about if we come at you with somebody that you truly, really deeply love and adore?
Mhm.
What are you going to do then?
I think it's all in perfect order
Mhm.
because the message today, as I was feeling it, as Christopher was coming through, is this is a reality you are creating where you live in. It's like that house I now live in
Mhm.
is created. This is our reality. And so I think we are going to be challenged with, so how do we wish to deal with this whole new perspective, this whole new consciousness of, love, oneness, and joy and delight, as opposed to resistance or victimization or any of the other things. So I'm expecting that we will feel the energies of the thunderstorms as they approach.
Yes.
Maybe little tiny storms, maybe bigger storms, because to really dwell permanently in Humadi, we have to be able to deal with the challenges that would have triggered us in the past and deal with them a whole new way, like you did with your mom about, okay, maybe I just accept it and let's go with the flow of it.
Mhm. Yes. However, and I think this is a great conversation for us to have and play with here. It has come up then many, many times. How do I surrender? And I'm not talking about me in particular. I have many tools that I use, but I'm wondering if that might not be something fun to explore a little bit, because not everybody does have ways to do
Mhm.
that. And if you don't have those coping mechanisms, it can feel a lot like um, uh, giving them full control over you, like giving them your power, like,
Right.
okay, do whatever, just do whatever, and then feeling upset still by it. So let's talk about surrendering. What do you
Sure.
do?
That's such a good question. I love it. I mean, I do think we have to love ourselves. We have to come from a place of loving ourselves. And that often requires setting our own, I don't even like the word boundary, but our own, this is what isn't going to be okay for me, if you will, on many situations. But in the situation like you're talking about, or even in the situation that we've already shared when my Patrick had a brain tumor last year, I really had to practice surrendering in the moment, just in the moment, to what was happening, so I could be fully present to do what I could do. Even though, talk about resisting, nobody wants your precious child or grandchild to be diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Mhm.
So all I can tell you is that for me in those moments, It's much like, oh, it's coming to me now. It's much like I've talked about in a real storm, a real thunderstorm, in a tornado. I've been in many.
Mhm.
It's taking care of myself and then just allowing it to be, or working in emergency management. It's surrendering to the present moment, loving myself to take care of myself, but then just trying to not be in the future what ifs. I mean, what if I can use your example, what if I'm going to have to just be exhausted all the time because mom wants to do this? Or, what if this isn't going to go right? If we can just, for me, bring myself as calmly as possible into the present moment, taking care of me and accepting what is, and how can I flow with it? That's what I have to do.
Beautiful. And I mean, that's for me too, though, that those are key pieces. And then that trust is a huge one that I cling to, that,
Oh
you know
yeah.
what, I'm just going to trust. And interestingly enough, evidence has shown, like history has shown, that when I trust, I'm always looked after. It
Yeah.
always works out. I might not be super happy. I mean, it could be that this whole thing, again, going back to my mom, and I don't want to belabor that. It was just an example. But, going back to that, um, it could be that it does turn out to be way more exhausting and a much bigger
Mhm.
deal than it needed to be. But if that is what she needs,
Right.
then who am I to stop that from happening? And I would much rather support her and be there for her if it doesn't work out than
Mhm.
be resisting the whole way and then being ready to say, I told you this wasn't a good idea. Like, why did you insist on it? Right? Because it could very well be a very good idea.
Yeah, right.
So yes, it's interesting though. So what about when it's not something you can clearly put your finger on, but you can just feel, like I say, I can kind of feel these interesting energies coming at me. You and I have talked about this many times before. I don't always know even if they're my thing,
Hmm.
right? That it could be coming from the neighbor's house. I don't know. But so what kinds of things do you like to do for that?
Whew. Well, I just have to, for me, one of the most important things right now is peace. It
Mm,
just is peace, just living in the moment as calmly as possible. So when I feel those energies, and believe me, I feel them too. Um, I just have to say, I have to kind of ask myself, what's triggering it?
mm,
And what can I do to just calm it? Maybe thinking about it like the raging waters. What can I do in this moment to calm it? So I know you love to go outside and just be in nature, and I do as well. That helps. Doing something I love, focusing on my beloved little puppy dog, Winston, anything that just brings my energy back, my energy, not this outer energy I'm feeling, but my peaceful energy, somehow reactivating that like lighting a candle just for a few minutes. That
mhm.
seems to help me. How about you?
Absolutely. All those things, especially barefoot on the grass. But I'm thinking now, okay, so let's say I'm working and I
Mhm.
can't just go out and do those things or play with my dog or whatever. And this is going to sound funny, and it does depend on the workplace. But one of the things I like to do is hum.
Mhm.
And humming, I actually was listening to someone talk a while ago, and they were saying that humming does, the vibrational frequency of humming actually does help to raise our frequency. But I have long used humming as a parenting tool. I've told people, if you're really getting upset, try humming a song. And of course, the more fun the song, the easier it's going to, or the more it's going to help you, right?
Mhm.
But for me, sometimes it's just taking a song that I like and humming it. Like
Mhm.
there's a country song that goes like it's a great day to be alive, that sort of thing. And so I will just start humming it. And I'm not gonna do it to you guys right now because I have a microphone and but just the point being that just by humming that, it starts to balance me. It puts me in a happier mood. And the closer I can get to smiling or laughing, the
Right.
easier it becomes to um, deal with whatever those energies are. It's like they just dissipate. They just kind of whoosh
Yeah.
away when I do that. So those are some of my favorites. Finding something to laugh at, not someone to laugh at, but
Mm-hmm.
something,
Something.
something that feels funny. And I have said to my husband before when I've started laughing and he looks at me because it's something he did, he dropped something or whatever, I'll say, "Oh, please laugh with me because I really need a laugh right now." And that was kind of funny. And then he'll laugh and all's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Laughter's so good. Laughter, laughter, laughter. My sister gave a great example of that yesterday. When we were talking on the phone, her son just got engaged. We're so excited. We love
Mm,
Molly very much, Ian and Molly. And my sister was saying that she knew this was going to happen. Molly didn't. So she was present. They were all at a 4th of July early celebration at the lake home of the bride. And so when they went during dinner, they were having a lovely dinner before this was going to happen, before Ian was taking Molly down to propose on the dock. They're having a
nice.
lovely dinner. And he's cool as a cucumber, but inside my sister is feeling that energy of anxiety. Is it going to go right? Is it going to go right? Oh, I want to go right. And all of a sudden she told me, oh my God, I dropped my plate of food all over the table, all over everything, me. And then I spilled a glass of wine. And I told the parents of the bride after, okay, when the wedding comes, I'm just going to be sitting at the kids' table because I can't be trusted not to do it. And she laughed with me. And I said, oh my gosh, I do that all the time. I'm talking with my hands and things go flying. So she took a situation that, in the presence of other people doing something like that, could have been like, oh my God, disastrous. And she was feeling that energy of something's coming. I can't control it, but I'm so excited. And
Yes.
found a way to laugh about it. And we've identified with it, how funny that is, because both of us do that. We just get excited and spill stuff. And yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. That's
it's
cute. That's
cute.
certainly something I would do as well. The laughing, but also the dropping of things, knocking things over. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yes, yes. And
Yeah.
there was a time in my life where I would take that a little bit personally, like, oh, why did that have to happen to me? Like, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course,
Okay. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, for whatever reason, that reminded me just now that I've had to remind myself several times this week that I create a sense of hurry. I
Ah,
like to do that hurry, like you've got to get this done as if there is some kind of a time limit. And I get it. Sometimes there are time limits, but honestly, even if I happen to get to the chiropractor 2 minutes late, it's uh, nothing's going to change by me being all wound up and upset about it while I'm on my way there. Right.
absolutely.
So I've really had to work on that one or not work on it, but remind myself about it and just sort of go, oh, are you rushing yourself? Even today for
Yeah.
this, I had to remind myself and go, no, this is on time and perfect time. Maureen Saint Germain said that, and I clung to it, and I've used it for a long time now. I just on time and perfect time.
I love that
Just
because I have a tendency to do that. And I was thinking as you were talking, the times that I feel that stressful energy, that, oh gosh, it's either I think I have to control something.
yes.
I have a certain expectation. For example, the boys have schoolwork this summer from their particular school, every grade. They can't stand it. They don't like the idea of having to read books or do their math. And because I care for them a lot during the summer, I have in the past taken it upon myself to make sure
Mhm.
this gets done, and it's got to be done well, and we got to do it. And oh my gosh, it would be, the past summers have been such a struggle, as you know, from last summer. It'd be like, oh, come on, could you just have a good attitude? Because I can't go through this day in and day out. And this summer it was like, it's not really my work. It's their work. They're old enough, 12 and almost 10. I'll provide an atmosphere, but I don't need to have expectations that they've completed anything. I'm not mom and dad. I'm not teacher. I'm Gaga. And
Mm.
so I find when I don't get drawn into the expectation of I'm supposed to be in charge of their work and it's not happening, or I need to complete everything on my to-do list, or darn it, those are the times, like you said, or I'm hurrying up to get so much done.
Mhm.
Those are the times I feel that stressful energy. So releasing my expectations, understanding I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. I have no power control. Just like the thunderstorm over these
Ex
two boys. I really don't. And whether or not they do it, man, it makes me feel better.
Absolutely. And in fact, I did that with my own children because I thought at one point, I think my son was only grade 3, and the amount of homework that he had every day, I said to him, are you not working at school? Like, he goes, oh yeah, we did all our stuff at school. This is just the homework. And I said to him, well, honey, we only have this many hours in the evening, and
Yeah,
this is my time to love you and play with you. And so I do want you to get work done, and
sure.
I'm going to do what I can to help you get your work done when you want my help. But we're not going to focus our
Good.
whole evening on it. And then I went in and I spoke to the teacher. Now it helped. I worked at the school, so made it a little bit easier. But I told her I'm not going to ask this much of my child because this is my time with him.
Love
And I
that.
do think that there's importance to education, but I do not think it's more important than your relationships. I know that's a boat rocker there
Yeah,
for a lot
we,
of people.
we might need a whole session on this because I so agree, because to me it's the love of learning. And
Yes,
unfortunately, all this busy work and stress, and I got to achieve and get into college, I got to do that, takes away, robs our kids of the love of learning.
yes,
So all I can say, pardon me, is that this summer's going a whole lot better because I'm just not stressing over that which is not mine.
yes. And that ties right back into what Christopher was saying about, you don't control the storm,
Yeah.
so instead you seek shelter. And I think that that's a piece for me that I just want to make sure people hear, that seeking shelter doesn't mean, always running away and hiding from the things that you need to face. But I
Right.
loved what Christopher said about going in and finding your center. And while that might sound like, well, I can't do that, I'm at work,
Mhm.
just even taking some deep breaths and exhaling. There's a breath called the straw breath where you breathe in and then out like you're breathing through a straw, brings your blood pressure down, helps to calm you, and that can be enough to help you start to feel really calm and relaxed and get centered, right? So just simple things like that, or start humming right in the middle of the meeting,
There you
and then you can
go.
laugh.
There you go. And thank you for bringing back a fabulous memory. I am so not afraid of storms because as a small child, my dad was fascinated by storms and watching the clouds. And so for me, one of my greatest joys was being a little kid and stepping outside. Not, I mean, we weren't stupid and going in the middle of a tornado. We would be safe, but we would view the clouds together and we watched the turmoil approaching. And because I did that with him with calmness, I'm using that as I'm watching even our background and loving it. And so I wonder if we can't begin to view the storms, the energy of the storms in our life, from stepping back, knowing that we're in a place of safety, just viewing it from a safe place, and then being in a space where we're better able to deal with how we navigate through it, how we let it pass by,
Mhm.
or what we do in the meantime.
Yes, and I think one of the pieces with that feels really important to me is understanding that if you are in an actual storm, okay, and the
Mhm.
storm is raging around your place and you're worried that a tree is going to fall on your house or the roof's going to come off of your house or whatever, nothing changes in that moment except for how you feel. You're not
Right.
controlling the storm by being afraid or anything. You're just making it harder for you. And so my practice for a long time has been to ask myself, is there anything I can do about it? No, then I'm not going to give it my energy. Instead,
Mhm.
I'm going to trust that I will be okay. And if I really still feel in fear, that's where I do call in Archangel Michael, which I've talked
Okay.
about in a previous episode, and ask that please keep me safe from any unnecessary drama. And I will do my best to accept whatever happens as necessary. And as soon as I do, I get this feeling of just calm because I'm in a state of surrender. I'm allowing the storm to be what it is. And if you take that from literal storm to being in the middle of a chaotic situation at work or with your
Mhm.
child or whatever the case might be, it's the same thing, like worrying about this or getting really angry because I'm not able to control it isn't going to change anything. What is going to help me the most? Getting centered is going to be the first step to that. So,
Oh, I love that. And again, I can tell you that that's exactly what works because that's exactly what I had to do to get through the many months of trauma with Patrick's brain tumor.
mhm,
And just what you said. Is there anything I can do to control it? No. Is there anything I need to do to resist it? No. I can advocate, I can nurture, I can care, but just being in that present moment energy of what can I do in this moment?
mhm.
How can I help? Right.
Yes. Yes. No, that is beautiful. And I think the one other piece that's popping up for me, bouncing along, is that whole thing of recognizing that your power, all of it, is in the now,
Yeah.
not in the future, not in the past. So the more we can focus our energies and what can I do right now
Mhm.
that might make a difference? And it might be smiling at somebody. It might be, taking that breath, going a little bit inwards, taking that moment. Um, it might be sitting down and reading a book, like whatever it is in that moment that is going to help.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And actually, I'm just going to say this. I don't mean to make a plug for it or anything, but on our um, current Voice from the Heart website, there is a worry map there that is very much describing, okay, is there something I can do about it? Then do it. If there isn't, you know,
Yeah.
I need to
Love
let it
that.
go kind of thing. So,
Good.
yeah,
Thanks for bringing that up. I like that.
no problem. No problem. That's from my old life.
Yeah.
But,
My past creations.
yes, yes, the Museum of Past Creations. That is exactly what it's from. So, yeah. So that kind of feels like a good place to wrap it up for today. What do you think?
I think it's beautiful. I love it. All right. Well, as we began, let us go back within our own beautiful heart, our own sacred heart, still resting always in the sacred heart of the Creator. And as we bring today to a close, knowing that we're protected by the golden sheets, so we can walk out of here with confidence. We can walk out of here with the golden sheets rather than our backpack always. But today, let's just understand that we are protected, we are nurtured, and this new beautiful reality we're creating together is filled with all kinds of beautiful beings of love and purpose and joy. And it all begins right within us. So we let this be so today, and so it is.
And so it is. If you would like to play with us in Sweet Tea Channeling, please send us a message at info.hoomadhi@gmail.com. That's info.hoomadhi@gmail.com. We would love to invoke the power of eight, as written about by Lynn McTaggart, on a live call. So if you feel at all pulled to join us, please do. And we will see you in Humadi.